This is a video showing the strategies and loadouts that I used during my solo flawless Warlord's Ruin dungeon completed on a hunter. First, let's talk about weapons that I used as well as potential replacements if you don't have them. The important weapons that I used were tractor cannon, malfeasance, and a 1-2 punch shotgun. That's it. I did use other weapons such as a cataphract GL3 and an eager edge sword, but those first three were the most important. Everyone should have tractor cannon. It's given via the new light quest, and 1-2 punch shotguns are craftable. So the only weapon here that would be a weapon that you don't have is malfeasance, in which case any other hand cannon would work for what I'm doing. But if you don't have malfeasance, I would then recommend Leviathan's Breath instead. So during my clear, I used 3 distinct loadouts. Liar's Handshake loadout, an Assassin's Cowl loadout, and a Lucky Pants loadout. These loadouts are in the description, and I will also be showing them on screen where I explain the encounters that each loadout was used for. So we're going to start off with the first boss. So I'm going to assume that you have a general understanding of the dungeon already, and you already know how to navigate your way from each encounter to the next. There's nothing special getting to the first boss. There's no tricks or tips that I can tell you about walking up a hill, so I'm going to start straight away with the first boss. So my loadout here is on screen, but the gist of it is it's tractor cannon, a 1-2 punch shotgun, as well as Liar's Handshake, and then I was using Fatebringer to shoot the Acolyte Eyes. The way that I did this encounter, and what worked really well for me, was that I would just kill ads until the boss throws down his first totem, and when he does that, I would run over to the totem as quickly as I could and stand in it to get a little bit of progress on it before I get teleported. Usually you'll only get 1 or 2 seconds in there, but that's 1 or 2 seconds more than you'd have if you hadn't done it. Once you get teleported to the cage, you would shoot your 3 eyes with the hand cannon. So I would try to find these as quickly as possible so that I can get out and make progress on the totems. And once I break free from the cage, I went straight towards some lurkers to get my combination blow up, and then I would go to the totem that the boss had already put down. This way I can complete 1 totem. I wouldn't complete the second totem unless I knew I was going to get it, because safety is key. So if I knew that I wasn't going to be able to get the second totem, all I'm focused on is getting combination blow to maintain itself at X3, and I want to refresh it right before boss damage starts. Be very careful of the Ravagers here, because while they do proc invis due to Assassin's Cowl, they don't refresh your combination blow. You need a Raider or a Lurker to refresh your combination blow here, and Lurkers can be very annoying with their shield. Either way, you want to maintain your combination blow, and then once damage starts, tractor the boss, throw your super at him, and then you just 1-2 punch him. That's shotgun, then 2 melees. Shotgun, then 2 melees. And because you have Liar's Handshake on, you're completely safe during this damage phase due to Liar's intrinsic healing. Afterwards, it's just rinse and repeat. For the first transition, there is nothing special about this transition. Okay, the second boss, this boss is actually the boss that caused me the most trouble to figure out, specifically for what a consistent strategy would be for damage. So I'll explain what I used, and it worked very well for me as I 4-phased, nearly 3-phased on a hunter, but then I'll explain what I was previously doing, which was arguably safer, but took longer. So what I did is I used 2 different loadouts here. The first is an Assassin's Cowl loadout that was used for the entire mechanic phase. And then there's a Lucky Pants loadout that was used for the entire damage phase. That's it. So I would use the Assassin's Cowl loadout to get to damage. Once damage starts, I would use the Lucky Pants loadout. So the key to getting to damage here is maintaining your combination blow and chaining invis for the entire time. Dungeon encounters do not have timers, so you can always take as long as you want. That being said, this boss has what I like to call a mini timer. So there is a point in this encounter where you do a mechanic and it starts this timed phase where something happens, and you need to do a mechanic in that time. So in this encounter, that mini timer starts when all 6 Acolyte Eyes in the middle are killed. So what I recommend you do is you start the encounter, and then you stack up your combination blow and invis before you shoot the 6 Acolyte Eyes. I head to the left, I use the Scorn to get X3, and then I shoot all 6 Acolyte Eyes in mid, and then I head to the right. I preferred the right chieftain to use for the totems. Just personal preference. I found the left one was too visible for the ogre, and I actually wiped once because I got knocked off the map by jumping, and the boss just threw me away. So I head to the right here, and then I'm going to still use the normal scorn to maintain invis and combination blow. But I'm subconsciously thinking, I need to watch this right chieftain because I need him to spawn a totem before I kill him. And the reason why I want him to spawn a totem is that way I can immediately complete 2 totems per phase rather than only 1 totem per phase. Obviously, you can do 1 totem per phase if you're not comfortable doing 2 totems per phase, but in the consciousness of time, 2 totems, the safety difference is negligible and you'll get the encounter done twice as quickly. So I recommend you try 2 totems at least once. Once he spawns the first totem, that's when the biting cold timer starts. And my recommendation is that you move towards a torch to lower that biting cold once you hit X6 or X7. Complete the 2 totems. Whether or not that takes you 1 or 2 activations of biting cold to do, that's up to you. Once the 2 totems are activated, I then would move towards middle to refresh combination blow, and then I shoot Acolyte Eyes and repeat to get 2 more totems completed. This way there are now 4 solar orbs in mid. Once the 4 orbs have spawned, I dunked 3 orbs, and the way to do this is I would punch an enemy to get invis, pick up an orb, dunk the orb, and then punch another enemy to go back invis. And I would always dunk top left, top right, and bottom right. This way, damage would always start in the bottom left for me. There's no real reason for why I chose bottom left. I preferred the consistency so that I always knew, okay, I'm going to be always starting bottom left. And I also liked it because that way I could easily refresh combination blow right before a damage phase, just in case I needed that combination blow to kill an enemy to get healing, and that way I know that the melee is going to kill it in 1 melee. Before I dunk the 4th orb, I would go around and I would kill any taken on the map as well as any scorn on the right side. After that, I would pick up the orb, then I would drop it next to the bottom left dunk point, and then I would kill the scorn at that bottom left location, which refreshes combination blow, kills any snipers, and then I dunk the orb. The moment I dunk the orb, I would super and do a loadout swap to Lucky Pants. An alternative would be to swap wall invis before you deposit the orb, but the orb has a timer, which is why I'd always deposit before I did the loadout swap. For damage, I Lucky Pants and Malfeasanced him every single plate. For each plate, I would just do 1 single Lucky Pants rotation though. If I felt it was safe, I could fire a few more Malfeasance shots, but realistically, all you need to do is 1 rotation and then move to the next plate. You should get a second super off on the last plate, which allows for a very comfortable 4 phase. Now, I know there's some people who don't like doing loadout swaps. If you are one of these people who you're not comfortable doing loadout swaps, you don't like going into your inventory during a solo flawless dungeon, which is reasonable because when you're in your inventory, you're vulnerable. My recommendation is you run a different hand cannon like Fatebringer to shoot the Acolyte Eyes, and you just run Leviathan's Breath for damage. Leviathan's Breath staggers the boss, so he's going to be less of a threat. However, the issue now is that ammo becomes an issue and your damage is going to be a bit less. So it might be a 5 phase, could be even a 6 phase. Leviathan's Breath is a safer option, but it's longer to get to damage because you're going to want to be waiting until you get that 15 Levi's Breath shots per phase. The second transition. The only scary parts during this transition is that room with the flying debris. So my recommendation here is you equip a scout rifle and you just kill everything from afar and then you go for it. Also, there's the part where you need to kill all the enemies before that taken barrier goes down. During this, I just stacked combination blow and went crazy. And also make sure you're careful of that hidden phalanx because I'm pretty sure he can just boop you off, so be careful about him. Okay, final boss. So the final boss, it didn't take me a while to figure out, but there are a few things that I did, and once I fine-tuned it a little bit, it became a lot more consistent for me. So I used the same loadouts as the second boss, and I would highly suggest that you do the same. You could still obviously use Levi's Breath here instead, but again, it just might take you a bit longer to do this encounter. So my strategy here was all about keeping 1 or 2 Scions alive to panic heal or invis if needed. So the first thing that I do is I kill enemies until the 2 wizards are spawned in, and then I kill those 2 wizards because those wizards are brutal. Once the 2 wizards die, I would use my Malfeasance to destroy 5 eyes. I don't destroy the 6th eye because I don't want those chieftains to spawn in yet. Once the 5 eyes are dead, I can look around, see how many scions there are, kill some if I'm beginning to get overrun, and then I can also destroy any of the blights that are currently on the map, causing some areas to be closed for me to stand there. At this point, you should have a second set of scions spawn in. Once they spawn in, this is where I would destroy the 6th eye, and then I would punch one of those new scions to go invis, and I would always wait at the left chieftain spawn to insta-kill him. So I chose to insta-kill this chieftain because the chieftains, first of all, are annoying, and this way I'm guaranteed a totem for damage, no matter what. I'm here when he spawns in, I know he's going to die. Once the totem is complete or I run out of invis, I would punch another scion, which would either be middle or on the right side, and if needed I would finish the totem, and if not, then I would go and kill the second chieftain. So I would always keep the right chieftain alive here because I found that he was more behind cover, so it was easier for me to do a loadout swap if needed on this right side. Once the right chieftain dies, I recognize that I still need to be transferring my buff to the Wraith. And so there are a few ways that you can do this. The first one is to blind the Wraith, which can easily be done by throwing your pulse nade and then meleeing him. The second option is to wait until your buff is at 1 second and then melee him and back up. And there is a third option, which is that apparently you can stand on the totems and he can't hit you. I have not tested this, but someone in my Twitch chat suggested it. So if you're aware of that, you can always try. Once the chieftain dies, you want to try to kill all scions if they're not already dead. At this point, I'm going to be standing in one of the totems if still needs to be completed, and I'm going to do my loadout swap to Lucky Pants. So I had a GL in my heavy slot here to kill the scions that spawn in when damage starts. Second option, if you don't want to use a GL and you'd prefer something like Cataclysmic or a Rocket, is you could run Forbearance instead of your 1-2 punch shotgun, and that way you can just Forbearance the scions, and you can reload it and use that origin trait to heal. But as soon as damage starts, 2 sets of scions spawn in, I instantly GL them so that there's no threat during damage, and then I super the boss and do a Malfeasance Lucky Pants for the rest of that damage phase, and then I would repeat for the second and the third floor. The second floor is the same thing. For on the third floor, I chose to kill the right chieftain first, and it's because the left one is more hidden by that little building. But second floor and third floor are the exact same process as the first floor. Now, the top platform is pretty scary. So here I would stay on my Lucky Pants Malfeasance build, and I would wait on that third floor until my out of luck timer is up, and then I would go up and then fire 20 Malfeasance shots with Lucky Pants, and then I would drop back down to the third floor, wait my timer, and then I would go up to the next platform, shoot, head back down to the third floor, and then I would go to the third platform, shoot, and then I would drop all the way back down to spawn. At this point, there is no way the boss or any of the eyes kills me. I'm only on each platform for 10 seconds maximum, and at this point, only like 2 eyes have even spawned in. If you're worried about doing multiple chieftains on each floor, you can just do 1 totem at a time and just use that one that you spawn kill. You'll probably have to do each floor twice, but it's a safe way to not have to avoid killing that second chieftain, so there's no risk that you ever die from him slamming you for some reason. I would say the hardest part of this boss fight is actually the final stand, and the reason why is because you're on this tiny platform and the eyes keep spawning, and they can do a lot of damage. So what I recommend here is that you don't send the boss until you have your super, and then you use your super during final stand along with any heavy you have. Rockets or a GL work very well, and you finish him off with that or your Lucky Pants Malfeasance. I hope this does help you. This is a lot longer of a solo flawless guide than the ones that I normally put out, but I think it's because there's a lot more stuff that can go wrong in this dungeon. And I was saying it on stream as well. I thought that this one was the hardest solo dungeon on a hunter. Most of the previous solo dungeons that I've done, I've first or second tried them on a hunter. This one took me a long time to do. I felt that like figuring out the damage strategies that would work best for me took me a lot longer than I was hoping. I'm so glad to have gotten the day 1 solo flawless, and yeah, and I hope you're able to as well. But I think Hunter is probably the hardest for this, and thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy this video, please leave a like and subscribe.